is William, and I'm creating this for Getting Context. I want to talk briefly about the 3 talks I've had with Moshe Rosenstein. I hope I'm pronouncing his last name correctly. A little bit of context there. I met Moshe online via Twitter, X, and he commented on something that I said in the context of Palestine-Israel conflict. And at first, I responded with my typical anti-Israel bias, and I called him a genocidal maniac, possibly influenced by Lee Camp. I'm quite a big fan of Lee Camp. I watch his podcast. I have bought his books. I've even once donated one of his books to a complete stranger who wrote on Facebook, at the moment I can't afford to buy books, so I actually bought a book via Amazon and had it delivered to this total stranger. Not something I do habitually, so don't expect free books. So understandably, Moshe muted me, and I understand that. I understand why he did that. But I have kind of an obsessive mind, and I have I don't know how many X accounts. So I contacted him via another older X account, and I had a change of heart, and something intrigued me about his profile. He mentioned something about that he learns from others and that he teaches others and also learns from them. And I don't know, like my intuition told me maybe this wouldn't have happened if we could have had a normal conversation face to face. I doubt I would call somebody a genocidal maniac to his face. Uh, it's not an impossibility, but it's not that likely. And he agreed, and he unmuted me. We follow each other now. And we sat down for Zoom talks. And even though the content is very painful, sometimes we're talking about very complicated things about children being massacred, people dying, starving, the usual. And it was very interesting to see things from his perspective. He lives in Israel, so I'm prone to take what he tells me very seriously. When I really doubt uh, what he's telling me, I push back. I've been criticized for not pushing back enough. Like one very good friend of mine even told me you should stop him after every sentence, but that was not my intention. I would like to have a real conversation, and even now I interrupt him quite often. So we had 3 talks. In the first talk, I was very open to hear how he sees things. You can check it. I think in the first conversation, I let him talk, and only when I really think, okay, this is not very congruent with what I've been told about this before, or what I've read before, or what I assume, what I've always assumed about this, or what didn't sound very logical. You can check that. Maybe I don't ask the right questions. I don't know, but so here and there I was very skeptical about what he was telling me, and I do think that he's not 100% correct about everything. Maybe please watch it and you tell me. In the second talk, I think I was already more emotional. I had seen more and more very graphic videos of children wounded, dead, being pulled from under the rubble, out from under the rubble, and I think many of you have seen these images, and I personally don't know anybody who wouldn't be very deeply affected by that. Um, I think since this operation called Al-Aqsa flood, if that's the correct pronunciation, I've slept a lot less. So it's, of course, I'm in a very uh, easy position. I'm in Slovakia. I'm not there. Slovakia is a very peaceful country. Theoretically, this shouldn't even affect me that much. People around me are not that affected, and it's me who's bringing it into their lives. I think, for example, my wife, God bless her, um, she she has other priorities. She does very valuable work. So I'm not judging, but she keeps it at bay, and she's also very modest, and she doesn't pretend to know much about this. So she doesn't want to play the judge here. So maybe I'm the megalomaniac narcissist who thinks that his opinion on this topic matters. So I didn't want to sit in my echo chamber, so that's why I decided to have those talks. What's very helpful there is that Moshe is very kind, he's very friendly. I assume I couldn't do this with somebody who calls me an idiot or a moron, like the usual stuff you get on X every time you express something and somebody doesn't agree. And I must congratulate Moshe for wanting to sit down with me, because he never insulted me, by the way. I was the one who insulted him with this genocidal maniac. So in the second conversation, I think we go deeper into if what Israel is doing right now, if it's the morally correct thing to do. And I stated very clearly that I don't agree that Israel should be bombing, and you can watch it. But we talk about many other aspects as well. And by the way, I always send him lots of questions before we sit down and talk, and he really tries to go through this list and to answer every question, but it's not possible. It's really a long list. You can go to my website and check the list. There there are lots of questions there, and I have more questions always. And then in the third conversation, that was I think intellectually the most challenging one. Like, when we stopped talking due to technical difficulties, because his computer had to reboot, I felt my ears burning, and that only happens when I'm really, really very focused and racking my brain to understand something. So there we talked about um, if Hamas, when it chooses to fight Israel militarily, what they are allowed to do or not allowed to do. And I actually feel quite arrogant trying to dictate to people how they should resist in the situation they are in. I didn't grow up there. I went to the West Bank only once in 2009. I wrote about that on my website as well. And I was there only 1 month. It was very shocking. I saw some really terrible things, and that makes me prone to have some sort of sympathy for the Palestinians when they fight back. And that's also my initial gut reaction. Like, of course they attack. Of course, if you see what's happening in the West Bank, then of course they fight back. Who wouldn't? Like, you would have to be some kind of saint not to at least get angry when you live there, when you, as a Palestinian, I mean. Then, of course, Moshe then explained to me that I'm kind of late to the game because I was there in 2009, and that all these surveillance and all these checkpoints and the mm, how to say it, this policing of Palestinians in the West Bank only came after the two intifadas, and that before they could drive around the country, they could go to the coast by car, and they had a lot more freedom of movement for sure. Um, where we disagree is that I definitely think it goes too far. That you make people very angry. Terrible things happen there. Moshe tells me that he's convinced that those are exceptions, and that when I see a video of mm, Jews and Palestinians fighting over some piece of land and settlers arriving with the army, that the reality could be very different. That I shouldn't always think that the army or supports the, let's say, the claims of the Jewish party or the Israeli party. Let's say I prefer to say Israeli party because not every Israeli is Jewish. I don't know actually. I should maybe ask him if when we talk about settlers in the West Bank, if those are always Jews. I'm assuming yes, but I'm not sure. As you can see, I'm not sure about many things. That's why I'm having these talks, and why I also try to read more about it and read books on this topic. So the third talk was more heated, I think. He again went through my list of questions very patiently. He's a fast talker, so um, I sometimes have to uh, raise my voice to get a word in, but when I do, he stops, and he I can see that he's really listening to me. I don't think he's about to change his view on what's happening in the West Bank, and I don't know what I could do to show him that he has maybe more of a rosy colored view of what's happening there, or maybe I do see it wrong, but there I have my doubts. I think it's really terrible what's happening there, and it's creating so much anger that you you do feed aggression, or the will to fight back. I could point to reports by Amnesty International. I don't know if what I don't not sure what Moshe thinks about those. Maybe stuff for a future talk. So then the current situation. So we also write on WhatsApp. So you don't get to see everything in the talks, or maybe we will cover everything in future talks. But there's also stuff going on just between us, and we exchange articles and opinions. And like right now, I think that I opposed this attack on Gaza. What's happening there is absolutely awful. To me, it's still like Hamas set a trap by going into Israel, um, causing as much pain as they possibly could, very successfully. And um, maybe this is a ridiculous comparison, but you can't really see it now. But I collect board games, and I really almost fanatically play board games. And one of the ways you win a board game is by thinking, what is now the worst thing that my enemy could do, or what would be the best for me. And when I ask myself the question, what is the best thing that could have happened for Hamas in the wake of what they did, is exactly this: that Israel attacks, and the bombs start dropping, and the kids start dying, and those horrible images start circling the globe. I think Hamas is very happy now. I think that's what they wanted to accomplish. I think that was exactly what they wanted to accomplish. What else could they have tried to accomplish? It's not like they could, or were they thinking that because they have hostages, Israel would have have their hands tied and they wouldn't bomb? Then they are extremely naive. I think everybody could see it coming that Israel would attack anyway, hostages or no hostages. So I don't think they could have been that naive that, oh, now we have hostages, we are safe. I think this is what they wanted. They're safe on the ground, if not abroad, because not all of them. Suppose the leadership is not always in Gaza. So these kids are dying. These images, everybody I think sees some of them, or at least hears about them. And then the news, of course, only selects the most palatable, let's say, the worst ones are online. So um, I think that's what Hamas wanted, and it's kind of like a trap, and Israel walked into it. And then I try to see, I see Moshe sees it differently. He tells me that if Israel doesn't react, then Israel looks weak, and then it's like giving the green light to Hezbollah to attack, to invade, or to at least use its much more sophisticated rockets than the ones Hamas has. And I think about it, that I want to take that into consideration, that okay, I'm against this bombing campaign, this invasion. I'm willing to consider other options, because people always think, then you don't want you want to do nothing. If you don't want to attack, then you don't want to do anything. The alternative is nothing. I think Israel does have several other options, and we could get into that in a different video specifically on that aspect. So. Mm, but now it's too late, so they're doing it. They are killing people. They have killed people. They have horrifically maimed children. And to say this is on Hamas, uh, that argument I don't accept. It's still Israel's choice to drop those bombs. It's not Hamas shooting them, or dropping a bomb on them. Um, but to nuance that, I think Hamas wants that to happen. I really think they are that cynical that they they are sacrificing, and perhaps that is a very big part of their mentality, sacrifice, and they are willing to sacrifice a part of their own population as a way to gain some sort of victory, and it seems to be working. I've never had the impression that the mainstream media was in any way pro-Palestinian. And right before this talk, I read a newspaper article in my opinion, the best newspaper, or one of the best, let's say one of the best newspapers in Flanders, in the north of Belgium, in the Dutch-speaking part, the Standaard, they're called. And of course, they tried to be objective, and the article is objective. But when you read between the lines, you can feel it, like they don't agree over there with what's happening, and they are not accepting Israel's explanations. And I was surprised to see that um, almost outright rejected Israel's um, mm, how to call it, like information, or um, yeah, information that Al Shifa Hospital is harboring a Hamas headquarters. So they call the evidence scanned, or in in the original Dutch they used the word skinny, thin, so scanned evidence. So I'm surprised um, that the same newspaper also published a quite controversial opinion piece by some bishop. I'm surprised that this is happening. There's a Jewish-run newspaper in Belgium called Joods Actueel, something like Jewish Current, or Jewish Right Now, a newspaper. I'm not that familiar with it, but they strongly condemned the publishing of this opinion piece. So I'm just saying that it seems that there are even, in my opinion, cracks in the narrative of the mainstream media that is usually quite positive or favorable towards Israel. So um, so now this offensive is taking place, and as I said, Moshe thinks that if Israel doesn't do this, it it looks weak, and it invites other enemies to attack. And what I've also learned from Moshe is that apparently some Israelis like Moshe seem to think that everybody who's critical of Israel automatically also wants to dismantle Israel, wants Israel to stop existing. I may be wrong here, but I really don't think that I've ever wanted Israel to completely stop existing. Um, Moshe at first thought that there was some strange exception, that I can be extremely critical of Israel, but at the same time I don't want to dismantle it. But I don't think I am an exception there. I think there are really many people in the West who criticize Israel but don't say abolish the state of Israel. Uh, I don't know if I personally know anybody like that. I think I used to know people like that when I worked for a very leftist newspaper. I find it hard to call it a newspaper because looking back, they they were not objective. They had good intentions, but they were definitely not objective. That's also one of the reasons I cut ties with them and looked for a different job. So so with this campaign ongoing, and all these calls for a ceasefire, um, I think a ceasefire now would be the second big present to Hamas. First, you walk into their trap, in my opinion, and you can disagree with that, but I really think it's some kind of trap. And the second gift now would be to stop. So first we kill a few kids. Um, okay, not maybe not as intentionally as what Hamas did in Israel, but if you drop a bomb on a refugee camp to kill one Hamas guy, and lots of kids and women and men die, I really think it's a horrible thing. So, but to stop now is then why did you do that then? I mean, at this point, Hamas hasn't been materially hurt, I think, in any substantial way. I really don't think that. And here, I saw somebody send me some IDF report with how many tunnels they've destroyed and how many weapons they found. And Of course, the IDF is now going to say that this is going well. Of course, I don't think it's going that well actually. They've created cities of rubble, and we all know from history how much rubble or destroyed cities favor the defenders. So I think these places are now very tough nuts to crack. And you see images coming out of Gaza where um, Palestinians target tanks and shoot IDF soldiers. Maybe also, probably also not always the truth. Both sides are trying to paint a picture that things are going their way. But back to Moshe, because this is about how we influence each other and how um I really think you should question your own beliefs and why you have those beliefs and why you have those opinions. Yeah, maybe it's true that if that it's an aspect of what Israel is doing, that if we don't do this, then we look so weak that our enemies are going to do um, awful things to us, that they will attack. It's possible. I also think that Israel was completely flabbergasted, taken by surprise on October 7th, and that parts of this strong reaction is also to save face. And I think it was, if I had been the Israeli leadership that day, I would have been mortified. Like, what the hell? Why didn't I see this coming? Why couldn't I stop this? Why couldn't I prevent so much damage from happening? I would also be angry, and I hope that I would have had the restraint not to walk into a trap, um, which is still my opinion, that it was some kind of trap, some kind of public relations trap. Hamas counting on lots of dead babies, making headlines and having uh, their horrifically injured bodies smeared all over social media. That's I could open my timeline right now. I don't deliberately look for those images, but they are there. They are very easy to find and hard to avoid. So I suppose right now I will have to maybe go along with Moshe's idea that Israel can defeat Hamas. I think that's very is far from certain, and that if they do defeat Hamas, that they will do everything they can to um, take care of the Palestinians, who, in my opinion, are also in some sense the hostages of Hamas. Um, but we will have to wait and see if Hamas can be rooted out. A friend wrote me, "Can you really defeat an ideology like this? You'd have to kill every last one of them to completely get rid of this ideology, and even then, there some sympathizers would stand up and maybe continue." So it's hard to fight an idea. Like, look at what happened in Vietnam, in Afghanistan. You know all the examples. I think anybody watching this is probably very familiar with this topic. So so those are kind of my ideas after talking to Moshe 3 times. I hope we get to sit down and we will talk more. Um, I think if this conflict wouldn't be raging right now, and Moshe happens to be my neighbor, I think even then we would have lots to talk about. We've also briefly talked about some other things. We seem to um, both like to get to the heart of certain discussions and his historical situations. So I, on the one hand, I really enjoy sitting down with him and talking about this. But yeah, on the other hand, it's very challenging. I am always very scared of saying something incredibly stupid, or of discovering something evil in me, maybe that somehow I have some kind of fanaticism in me. I don't know. It's something that's on my mind when we have these talks. Like, will I land on the wrong side of this issue and prove to myself and people watching that I don't have. This is now a very fashionable concept that I don't have a moral compass, or that there's something wrong with my moral compass. So I don't want to make this longer than it already is. It's already half an hour. I think the most important things I've shared. I will do. I will definitely do more videos on this. You can follow me on X. Just look for at getting context. If you want, you can also, and I strongly encourage you to do that. You can follow Moshe Rosenstein. I will add his Twitter or X account in the description. So it helps if you like this video, if you subscribe, it helps even more. Commenting also helps, even if you don't really know what to say. It helps to boost the algorithm if you leave some comment, even if it's just like, okay, I hear you, or I listen to you, or um, I don't know, it was bullshit or it was interesting. It's something. So thank you for all those who watch this, and take care, and see you next time.